Hello everyone, this is Inayat Mir with Microsoft Exchange Server 2016 environment, where we are going to work on Exchange Server 2016 for management purposes and assigning a storage, creating mailbox databases. Let's look at the scenario. Currently, the mailbox server has no locally attached storage. For the mailbox database, you have available iSCSI storage for the mailbox database and logs. These drives will be sufficient for the initial deployment of a Datum, but the organization expects to add several additional iSCSI drives during the deployment. You need to configure Windows Server 2016 to connect to the iSCSI drives and configure storage for the mailbox databases and logs. You need to modify the location and configuration of default mailbox database to meet the corporate standards. The databases should have a warning limit at 0.9 gigabytes, prohibit send at 1.0 gigabyte, and prohibit send and receive at 2.2 gigabyte. In addition to the default mailbox database, you also need to create a new mailbox database to meet the deployment of requirements. You should place the new mailbox database on the iSCSI drive and enable circular logging. You also need to set different limits and retention time period from the default database. The main tasks for this exercise are as follows. Configure iSCSI storage for the mailbox server. Configure mailbox settings for an existing database. Create and configure additional mailbox databases. So we are going to look at the environment where we have here multiple servers, but I am not going to use all of these available servers. I am going to use the machines LON-DC1 most likely and LON-EX1 for this lab purposes. So we are all running Windows Server 2016 operating system for the servers at this time for this demo lab. So I will switch back and forth between two machines most likely, which is now I am on LON-DC1. Once I am logged in, then I will go into my second machine, which is LON-EX1. First, I am going to show you from my command line that how I am logged in. I am logged in as an administrator to a datum.com domain. So you can look at this way, or when you log in, you have to be just careful that you are logging into the domain. So don't log into a local computer. So currently I was just verifying that I am logged into the domain. I am on now LON-EX1. This is my Exchange server. So I am going to log in as an administrator. So this is also a member server. The first one was a domain. The second one is a member server. So actually I am logging in to the domain, which is a Datum. So I was logged in before. I am logging in again. If you are not sure you are logging into the domain, you can use other user option and use domain name /username and then add the password. So that is how you can make sure that you can log into the domain. Else you can go the way I have done it before and showed you that you can go in from the PowerShell or from the command line. You can see that how you logged in by typing who am I, one word, no space. I am adding my email as well. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I am switching back to my domain, which is LON-DC1, and I am using my server manager, where I am going to use my dashboard to install my iSCSI target on this server. So let's watch. You have to use from file and storage services option From there you can use iSCSI target server. So this will be the target server, iSCSI target, that will provide storage from this server actually to the client's intention is Exchange server. So here when you install, real time would be approximately 3 to 4 minutes, but here I actually can pause and go. Now I'm done for installation of iSCSI target. So now we can go and check from file and storage services option that we have iSCSI installed. The next step is to create a virtual disks. So now we can see that we have tasks option. You can create a new iSCSI virtual disk. So this is a new disk. It is a first disk coming from my root drive C:. I have 115 gigabyte free. I'm using a default 127 gigabyte my storage for my root drive. So I am using my iSCSI disk 1 option here. So this is the name of my disk. And this will be 2 gigabyte. So we are not going to make these big drives just for demo purposes. I am setting up as advised 2 gigabyte. This is a new iSCSI target. And the name you can give. You can customize this name based on whatever your requirements are, but currently I am going to give this name as LON-EX1. Even I am on LON-DC1, but this is a customized name. You can use any name. Here you can add your targets. This is an iSCSI target. Don't get mixed up with iSCSI target and the targets. Those are initiators actually. So that's where you're going to add your initiators from the target option. So you can read this small note here, and there are multiple ways to add your initiators. So you can choose the way you want to choose. You can browse to the Active Directory directly, and you can use a server name, computer name from there, or you can go actually and choose your enter a value for the selected type. So you can use from here IQN, or you can use IP address. So just to let you know that there are multiple ways. So the way I used is on the top is a host name. You can use that way. So we have so far initiator, which will access actually to my iSCSI target to get this drive, which is a 2 gigabyte drive. So now disk creation has been completed. You can go back, and if you want to add more disks, you can. So we're gonna add a new disk, iSCSI disk 2, same process, same size, and now you have actually already the name available. Before it's not a new target, so disk name will be 2, iSCSI disk 2 with the 2 gigabyte in size. As I said before, we can create this 2 gigabyte, leave the default options available. And this was my second disk. So now if you want to add more, let's go and add iSCSI disk 3. Same method, this will be reduced in size. The size will be 500 megabyte from the same root drive. This will be disk 3, yeah. So I am using this 500 megabyte in size. So now in other words that we have created 3 disks, disk 1, disk 2 and disk 3, 2 gigabyte plus 2 gigabyte, then you have this one 500 gigabyte. So now you can create. So we actually have these 3 disks available in our root drive. So this all storage is coming from my LON-DC one, and the room we are using is actually the storage we are using from my C drive, my root drive of LON-DC one. So I'm switching to LON-EX1. Start the server manager. We need to enable iSCSI initiator from the tools menu from server manager. You need to take a pause here for 30 seconds to 1 minute approximately in order to have this page refreshed. Once you see this blue bar is stopped, you have this page refreshed. Now we can go to tools and select the option iSCSI initiator. You have to say yes to run that service. Okay, once we have that available, we can go to the discovery tab. And we want to discover the portal. The IP is 172.16.0.10. That IP is actually of my LON-DC1's IP, which is running iSCSI target that we just installed a while ago. So now you can click on OK here. From the targets tab, we can refresh. Just read carefully with the default port 3260. Here we refresh. Now we can actually connect. So this is the procedure we are going to use multiple times actually whenever we have to use a storage as a client from a storage place. So that is how you have to go through. Now we are connected. Now we can go from computer management to see that we should have 2 drives for 2 gigabyte each, 500 megabyte. So from computer management, click on storage. You can bring your disk online and then initialize. So this is my disk 1, 2 gigabyte. Okay, we initialized a disk. We are ready to create a simple volume on this disk now. So this is a widget which we are running, a very common widget to create a simple volume. We will leave a default drive letter and we will use a quick format, and label will be DB1. So that is my first drive, which was 2 gigabyte. We can repeat the same procedure for the second drive. Everything would be same except the disk label. Label will be disk 2. but we have to do the same procedure exactly what was done for disk 1. So once you bring the disk online, then you initialize, then you are able to format the drive. During the format, you can change the size if you want to, but I'm leaving as it is. All I need to change is a volume label, which is DB2, and we will leave the quick format option available. If you see any pop-up comes up for formatting here, just cancel it because it's just a default bug. It shouldn't come once we format manually. So now we are going to format our third disk, which is 500 megabyte. We will create again a simple volume. We will leave the default drive letter, and this will be our logs drive. So volume label will be logs, and with a quick format. So I'm not going to change the size, I'm not going to change the drive, but I'm going to change the volume label, that will be logs. That is why we have a smaller size for this drive. So once we click on next, it will format, it will be a quick format. So we have provisioned the third drive as it is, the way it was. So we can close computer management. If you have watched my previous video, we have installed Exchange Server 2016. So we can use Exchange Server, which is already installed on this computer. We can use actually IE, Internet Explorer, to access to the URL. Let's go and see it. So we are out of computer management. We simply can go to Internet Explorer, where we can use a secure port 443 https://lon-ex1, that is this host name, .adatum.com is my domain name, /ECP, E as in Edward, C as in Carrie, P as in Paul. So I have used it before, so you will see actually in the history already. So here, once you are in, you can log in as an administrator, Datum/administrator, and you can use capital PA55W.RD password, default given on the top right side. So we are actually now in Exchange Admin Center. So everything worked appropriately, everything worked properly. So we're gonna go into Servers tab from the down here to the left side. So these are the all tabs. I'm just showing you these are the tabs, but we're gonna work on server tabs, and we will see now actually databases on the top right side. So plus is the one where you can add things, add new items. Here we are going to add here a new database. So plus sign is actually a new creation button. So we are going to create a new database, MB1. So remember that the volume label we gave out to MB1 and MB2. So that is where we are going to create a new database, and we are going to give this name to this database, M as in Mary, B as in boy, number 1. So that is how you create a mailbox in 2016 server or Exchange 2016, I will show you from the PowerShell as well. We will actually have a long way to go, so you will see everything from scratch, from basics to advanced and very expert level stuff as well. So you have to set up this mailbox on to an Exchange server. We have two servers here. So I'm using EX1. This mailbox goes on LON-EX1. This is the default path of the database. So just take a look on the default path. If you want to change, you can change. It's all up to you. And the log path is also going to your root drive. Later on, we will actually go and customize the log database, log file location and the database location. We will go ahead and actually change the location as well for the database. We can do it later on with no issues. So you see that MB1 is available now. It is mounted MB1 on LON-EX1. So I'm going to my computer management now. From the computer management, we can actually click on services. And we are going to restart information store service. You will see bunch of services running after the installation of Exchange. You will see a list of a lot of services. So you will see constantly information store service. We are restarting multiple times, and then we are done with that part, so we can close then computer management once we restart. But just take a look on these all services, what you have available. The next part I will go and actually configure the mailbox database. We can close or minimize. So we are going back to the Exchange Admin Center. This is my mailbox 1 or MB1. We can configure here. We can do maintenance here. We can set up some limits, and you can see the client settings here as well. So multiple tabs you're gonna see here. So as I said initially that we will have actually a limit for the size here for users. So we will have a warning at 0.9 gigabyte and prohibit send at 1 gigabyte, as I described this earlier, and prohibit send and receive at, we can put here approximately like 1.3 gigabyte, and we will actually keep deleted items for 1 month, for 30 days. And we can save. This will apply to anyone whose mailbox will reside in this database. That is what the option is. Okay, so just keep in mind the configurations what we have. We can save it now. If you want, you can close Exchange Admin Center, because we are going to use now Exchange Management Shell. So that is a kind of a PowerShell, but it is an Exchange Management Shell. So where you can actually take a look databases. We're gonna use actually a couple of commands such as Get-MailboxDatabase. That will actually show you a list of mailbox databases. So we created one. We had some databases available previously. So just take a look, or a quick look. Get-MailboxDatabase will be my first command once we are having a prompt to type in. So this first time when you start Exchange Management Shell, it might take approximately 90 seconds. Because the reason we are going to the Exchange Management Shell to see a list of mailbox databases which we have already created. So get-mailbox-database. So that should include the database what we already created, and the last one is that one. So we had some previously created databases. This is the one what we have created. MB1. So if you want to move a database, you can actually use a Move-DatabasePath. So you can move database from the default location to a different location. So I am going to use a Move-DatabasePath command for MB1 to E drive, because we created a DB1 partition. So that is where this is going. db1.edb. Then we have a log file path is G drive. That is where all log files are going actually. So I'm using a PowerShell. We can use actually command. I'm using this Exchange shell. We can use a GUI way as well, but I'm changing actually the database path from the default location to E drive, and the log files I'm moving into a G drive. So these two drives we just have created. One is 2 GB, the second one is 500 MB. So that was the storage actually coming from my lon-dc1, which is running a domain Active Directory and also is a iSCSI target. So we have to response with yes. We might gonna see this yes. Yeah, we have to yes again, yes twice. Okay, so we can minimize. We are actually now have this database path into a different location. We can actually verify that. So you can verify this way, or you can verify any other way you want to verify directly through the management console. So that's where I moved my database, and the log file should be under my G drive. That's where my log file is. So this is just a verification. Now we can close. My file explorer, and we are going to make a second database. We already have MB1 first database. The second will be MB2. So remember that we had two partitions, 2 GB each. So one was MB1. So that is the database we have created and mounted on lon-ex1. So let's see that we will create a second database from the servers from databases. So MB2, let's create first and use LON-EX1 again. Say where we are going to actually have the database. So, and then we're gonna customize it. So new database, name is MB2, and I'm going to select again EX1, and this is the default location. Before we used PowerShell, we can use manually now. F drive db2 and db2.edb is a name of the database, and G will be the log files. db2 is the name of the log file under the logs folder. So that is how we can do this manually from the Exchange Admin Center. I did before a different way, now I'm using this way, so both ways are exposed to viewers. So now you can make sure that database is mounted. You have an option now to save. Save is a little bit hidden under my pop-up, so but you understand that this is the way you do it. And now we are going to actually use again Exchange shell after this one. Okay, now we're gonna use a Set-MailboxDatabase command, and we also use this -identity option from the command. So DeletedItemRetention, we're gonna put 20.00.00.00, and CircularLoggingEnabled we have to put is true, as I said initially. ProhibitSendQuota will be 2.2 gigabyte. And once you do that, hit enter. Okay, so this should be done. And now we're gonna dismount MB2 database. So this is the command which I'm going to use. Dismount dash database -identity is MB2, and we have to confirm once we dismount. And we're gonna remount back just to take a look at that. So we dismounted the database and we mounted back. So you have to use mount dash database, then you have to use -identity MB2. So that's how you actually take a look on that. Dismounted, and once we mount it back, you can refresh and take a look on that again. It should be mounted. So this is the command which I'm going to use. So I'm using these commands for mounting and dismounting. So a little bit PowerShell, I mean Exchange shell, and a little bit GUI way. So we have a combination, and I'm gonna use a lot of shell in my future videos. But once we see, you can remount back. It should be remounted. Alright, so now we can take a look. Once refresh, so that is a validation of that it is mounted back again on EX1. So this was just an overview, a brief video. Simply I told you that we have here two databases in this video. We can change the path. We also can actually change the partition of the database. The way we did the first one, we can do the second one. But so far I have both databases on my L1-EX1. Now after the completing this exercise, we have configured Internet Small Computer System Interface. That was I was referring to iSCSI. iSCSI storage for the mailbox databases and logs. Alright, so I believe that you had this video beneficial, but this was a kind of a basic environment, and I will continue with a high level environment as well. So I will keep this sequence actually for the next topic. So I will see you in my next video. Any question, comments, please feel free to contact me. Thank you. Bye.